Hi, everybody. This is Audrey Moore with the Audrey Helps Actors podcast, and this is episode 100! Woo! 100! We have made it 100! Okay, before I talk about the episode, I want to talk about the meetups. New Mexico. That was amazing. I mean, talk about a group of rock stars. We had people of all kinds, all actors, all experience levels show up. They were so many of my absolute favorites showing up to Albuquerque meetup. That was an incredible night. Thank you so much for showing up. I can't wait to see you again. Los Angeles! I can't believe how many of you came. I want to give all the love and blessings to everyone who came. Just all of your love and support. Honestly, Jesse and I, we were so moved the whole next day. We kept being like, and so-and-so showed up. Oh, and so-and-so showed up. Oh my gosh, and so-and-so showed up. It was an incredible group of people that I have known for 10 to 20 years and people that I met for the very first time. Really, we feel so blessed and so grateful to have your support and encouragement and just to get love reciprocated, the love we have for you, the love you have for us, the love we have for each other, the love you have for each other. I hope you made friends, got some info. Maybe you met the love of your life. I'll be at your wedding. Invite me. I'll be too happy to be there. All right, enough about the meetup. Today we have Michelle Meredith. She is an actor who works all the time. You've seen her on The Morning Show, Young Sheldon, Grey's Anatomy, 911, Blackish. You have even seen her on Vogue's Best Dressed list. She is a star. We discuss how even at the height of stardom, there are long stretches without work. The space between the jobs is normal, everyone. That is part of why we are fighting to get paid more. We are also going to discuss finding what audition practices work best for you. Something good to think about during Self-Tape May. 16 tapes, 1 month. Can you do it? Yes, you can. Everyone that finishes 16 tapes by midnight on May 31st will be entered to win the random drawing for our biggest prize yet. A year of Castability, a session with Self-Tapes Here, a Casting Network's premium annual membership, a 2.5-hour headshot session with Bella Seville Photography, free admission to Erica Bream and Kara Shoot Rosenblum's class, Ace Your Self-Tape, co-stars. Free admission to Amy Linden's Saturday intensive class. I mean, that's hard to get into, guys. And so much more. Go to selftapemay.com to register for free to be entered in the prize package. A lot of you are like, I registered. I'm not getting an email that was like, you were registered. That's correct. We're not emailing you. Self-Tape May is free. You get what you pay for. When you look at the progress board, you should see your name somewhere. Good luck. The Review Baby is being fed by Happy Moke, Lauren McDowell, Ella R.W. Chen, Lenny Grossman 66, who I believe gave his second review. You can do more than one. There's no rule against it. Thank you all for feeding the Review Baby, but Review Baby is hungry again. So Matthew Patrick Davis, who plays the mother in Barbarian, tell them what they must do.
Feed the review, baby.
Go to ratethispodcast.com/Audrey. That's ratethispodcast.com/Audrey. It's so easy. Leave me a little review, a little reviewy time, a little review something, a little something. This week's podcast is brought to you by Castability. If you need size for your self-tape May, get some free ones from them. Also by Abundance Bound to help you get your money together. What better time to get your money together than during a strike? Honestly, do it. You're not missing out on jobs. You're not missing out on auditions. Pick it. Get your money together. Contact Abundance Bound, please, for the love of God. Also, by Self-Tapes Here, get some coaching and get a professional self-tape done by a professional session runner. He knows a thing or two about self-tapes. That is Jeff Pride at Self-Tapes Here. All right, I hope you're setting up a self-tape for Self-Tape May. And if it's real, I hope you mute it on Instagram. And I hope you book it!
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors Podcast, and today we have...
Michelle Meredith.
Yay! So we have you on today for many reasons. One, I'm one of your biggest fans. Two, you have participated in Self-Tape May and Kicked Ass and Take Names.
Thank you.
And it's actually, that's where I met you. I was like loving you on Self-Tape May so much, and I was like, hey...
Yeah.
Do you want to be friends / come on the podcast? And you were like,
which was the most exciting message to get.
2 years later,
Yeah.
we're doing it.
It worked out.
It worked out. And then also, this season is about the space between the jobs. And I really have the intention to normalize, not make it the exception or the people who aren't working properly or whatever. But I want to truly normalize that really almost every actor is working sometimes and auditioning and not working most time.
Right.
And even the really famous actors have stretches where they don't work. Even if they have 10 years of working as A-list stars, just ask yourself, where did Renee Zellweger go all that time? And then she came back truly anew. But where did she go in that time? And I can think of so many actors that I felt that way about, and they just kind of disappeared. Even the great Jennifer Coolidge now, who's kicking ass and taking names, she said she didn't work for a long time, and it was Ariana Grande who put her in her music video, and that completely revamped her career.
Yep. And Jean Smart, too. I mean, talk about a renaissance of just... There's so many examples where you just can see the gaps. Or presumed gaps. And I'm sure a lot of for them at that level, a lot of them are making a choice to take breaks and whatnot. But for most of us, it's definitely an ebb and flow.
I used to work in this bougie place in Beverly Hills where they had the private room. And there was this famous person, birthday party, I don't know. And I was pretty much always assigned to the private room. And Wanda Sykes and Jean Smart were there. And they were talking to each other. And they were like, are you working? And she's like, oh, I'm not working. I haven't worked. So Jean Smart was like, I'm not working. I haven't worked in 4 years. And she turned to Wanda and was like, are you working? And she's like, no, I haven't worked in at least 2. And I remember my reality, it wasn't even that I was devastated. It was more like I cannot compute. It was like that thing of you can't see what you're not ready to receive. And I remember hearing it and thinking what happened? And so when this Smartassance happened and she is now in everything again and kicking ass and taking names, I just really think about, I think that was 2010, 2012. And she hadn't worked for several years. So I'm really passionate about normalizing that, because I have enough friends, and especially pandemic. That's the thing. Everyone's like, well, the pandemic. And I'm like, something else is going to happen. It's the pandemic this time, but it's going to be another thing the next time. And it will slam us sideways again. And we don't know what it is. And it may mean you don't work for a bit, completely out of your control. So I really am passionate about all of my friends who reach out to me and they're like, this is the first time I'm not making health insurance in 12 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's common. That's actually really common. Because I think there's so much shame and so much embarrassment around that. So I want to chat with you about, listen, everybody, Michelle's a booker, which I love, and rightfully so. I want to talk a little bit about the space between the jobs for you. I know you've had some ups and downs over the last several years. So tell everyone, we always start with your landscape.
I am a proud union member of SAG-AFTRA. I got my SAG card off of the pilot for Blackish, 2010. That was a big mile marker. I'm exclusively theatrical. I have interests in other avenues. I stopped doing commercials just for personal reasons, and largely mental health related reasons. It just wasn't aligning with me as a person. And being able to say no to that was also a big step for me in the right direction, because it's so hard as actors to say no to anything. especially when you're starting out. The fear really takes over, the idea of limiting opportunities. But choosing that allowed me to just redirect my energy towards what really mattered to me. I would love to do voiceover though.
Yeah, I would love for you to do voiceover. Well, you are a performer, and I mean that in the best sense. Like, you are a fantastic actress, but you also love to perform. You are a singer. You were an Adele celebrity impersonator, which is so fabulous. Tell them about how you would go to parties and then they would want you to sing.
For a hot second, I did a couple live gigs. And yeah, I sang at a prom in San Bernardino, and single-handedly probably ruined Adele's reputation in that specific location. I did a couple corporate gigs and I got through it, but I'm sure there are people out there that are thinking she's not that good live.
Well, you're also like, there's singing and then there's Adele.
Exactly. Yes.
It's
I don't
really
mean
what
to
it is.
put myself down quite as much. It's just by comparison.
Right.
I am definitely not Adele.
Right.
I love a karaoke moment, you know,
Right.
but
Yes.
I'm not dropping any albums anytime soon.
Okay, good. Love it. And then how are you repped? Do you have an agent? Do you have a manager? How many times a week do you feel like you go out-ish?
Less than one. I have an amazing manager that I've been with for 10 years. Gosh, I have no sense of time. COVID really wrecked my brain. But pretty much since 2010 at least. And I just parted ways with my agents very recently. I just looked at my stats. I think it was like between 25 and 30 auditions a year.
Okay, great. But you also worked 4 guest stars this year, correct?
Yeah, it was a really good year.
I want to talk to you about those stats because I think you think that you don't have more auditions and you're like, what's happening? This crazy thing happens that I think people don't know about till they start working consistently, which is like, you actually can only work so many jobs in a year because once you book one, you don't audition for a minute because you can't work while you're also working, if that makes sense.
Right.
So if you book a job today and you are scheduled to film, because this is what they're doing now, which is like everyone has to go to SAG W&Ws because they do this thing where they're like, everyone's working. We want to hold you from Monday for the next 3 weeks. Guest star. And if you don't have good reps, they also won't pay you. They'll just say, we're thinking this day and this day. And if you don't know better / have informed representation or have representation that will fight for you because they're not as afraid of pissing off production or pissing off casting, then what happens is they'll hold you for those 3 weeks, quote unquote, and they'll only pay you for the days or times that you're shooting, which, just so everyone knows, wrong. That's actually, you can file a claim. If you get any language that says hold you, then they have to pay you and you call SAG, okay? But either way, that usually means, in my experience, that I won't audition for like 2 weeks, and then once I'm filming all day, then I get like all the auditions. They're like, oh, great, you're here.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you're going to be free next week, here's a bunch of pages. You know, listen, blessed, but it's a thing that happens. So I did want to point that out to you. Have you considered that?
I hadn't, and I'll be totally honest, I think our experiences have just been different. I mean, just looking at the past year and these 4 guest stars, for the most part, there wasn't a moment where I was on hold for more than a couple days or a week. It was usually a pretty quick turnaround and we would get in and out. I think something we had talked about previously was the cinematic or television universes that exist out there now. So if a show is a spinoff of a spinoff, and you book one of those shows, you can't be on the other ones, right? So You book 911, you can't do 911 Lone Star. You book Grey's Anatomy, you can't necessarily do Station 19. I think that might have a little bit more to do with it. For me personally, I definitely think what you pointed out is very true. And also the relationships with casting. I notice the cheerleaders that I have in my corner, I was going in again and again and again. And once they found something for me, it slowed down quite a bit. And also they're only casting so many shows, that particular office. So once they find that thing, they kind of are like, okay, who's next in our, folder that we want to find something for.
Also the network blocks. I don't know if that's something that you and I also talked about. So if you are on, say, Grey's Anatomy, ABC, season, 18 for a guest star, my understanding is that very often they don't let you on the network for that whole year.
Oh, we hadn't talked about that. I did not know that.
We haven't talked about that. So I had a friend who booked New Amsterdam and then some other show on that network. And he shot New Amsterdam and then was pinned and first choice for another show on that network. And they told him no because he'd just been on it and they're not going to have him on again for a year.
That's shocking to me.
Yeah, it's these sorts of things that, again, this is why I do the podcast, is like, I'm learning things all the time where I'm like, wait, what is happening? Like, you think you know all the ins and outs of why logistically you're maybe going to get auditions or not going to get auditions or what's happening. And then somebody says something to you and you're like, wait, that is a thing?
And it's changing so rapidly, right? Because I'm so shocked to hear that, because I just remember back in the day as a consumer, like I used to watch Law and Order religiously. They would have the same actor come on the same show to play two different characters. They didn't give a shit.
No.
So it's and then at another level, you think of, the double dipping of Marvel superheroes, the recycling of actors in one sense, and then being precious with guest stars on a network. Gosh, that's wild and kind of disappointing, but really good to know.
It is. It's all those things. And it's why once you get to the level that you're at where so everyone knows she was a wonderful recurring guest role that she did for a few years on the first couple seasons of the morning show. We'll talk about that. And then after that, you've been doing other guest stars, and you were doing guest stars through all that as well, which is great. And your resume is fantastic. But what happens is eventually you kind of have to broaden your scope out of Los Angeles or out of whatever network you're in. So if you're in New York, there's 8 Dick Wolf shows filming in New York. Then how many can you be on in a single year? The Chicago universe, you're not allowed to be on it again for 3 years.
So what does that look like to you in terms of expanding my market, so to speak? Is that finding more agents within those markets?
No, definitely not at your level. I would highly recommend not doing that, because they're still not amiable to paying you to travel and get your per diem if you have local high representation. Essentially what you're doing is you're offering free shipping. So you're putting yourself on sale. I definitely do not want you moving towards free shipping. I want you moving towards $50,000 an episode. That's my true life for you. And local hire, she's really smiling at that, you guys. She's like, I just warmed the inside of her. I warmed her heart like a bright lamp inside. It's great. But what that does mean is that the representation that you get here when you move to your next rep is a caliber of representation that has access and the clout for those sorts of projects. So obviously I've been on 911. I don't know what that means for 911 Lone Star. I was on Grey's Anatomy. I don't know what that means for Station 19. Luckily you were on Young Sheldon, but Big Bang is done. You're on Blackish, so you probably can't be on Grownish. There's just there's some things, right? Now, that shouldn't be a deterrent, I don't think, but it does mean that you want to make sure that the representation has hands, probably bi-coastal, because that means they're of a certain relationship connection that if the show is casting out of New York but filming in Virginia, that you could still get seen because they're flying somebody. If it's casting out of Los Angeles but it's shooting in New Mexico, you'll still get seen for that. Versus somebody who's maybe just got some really great contacts in network television here locally in Los Angeles.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Another thing that you could do, I know you and your manager are super classy and super close. And one thing I really recommend you starting to do is contact him and say, hey, Bish, where's those pilot scripts at? Because if you can get ahead of things also and just kind of understand what projects even you think you're going to be right for, that's a really great way to help everybody help you without being annoying. Like, I'm not worried about you being annoying. And when you're close to one of your reps, like you and your manager, I'm not worried about you annoying him anyway.
Right.
You probably already do. I'm sure you annoy each other
All
on an
the
equal.
time.
So, if you're reading Deadline and you see something got greenlit, ask him, say, hey, I'd really love to take a look at this. Do you know anyone who has a copy of the pilot? And almost always, yes. I can count on one hand probably the number of times I've just not been able to get a hold of something I was looking for. And so that's a good way too, because then you can start to see like, oh, I've never been in for that office actually. Let me call my agent and find out who covers that office. And say, hey, I don't know who's covering this, but I wanted to talk about getting Michelle in on this project.
Absolutely. And and this is something that I think is, I don't want to say new, but as we get further and further in our careers, just understanding that it's a team and you are on the team and we have a responsibility to meet them halfway and do some of that work and take part in the process instead of just, I think, and maybe this is my, Midwest mentality, but for a long time, I was so afraid, like you said, of being annoying and just kind of twiddling my thumbs and thinking, well, I trust that they're doing their job and I don't want to overstep and I don't want to, it's getting out of that sort of state of apology and moving into your power and recognizing like, this isn't me judging you or not trusting you or not thinking you're good at your job. This is me wanting to do everything I can to help you succeed, for all of us to succeed. I win, you win.
I always just ask myself, like, what's my intention? Is my intention I haven't had auditions for a really long time and I really want to be like, hey, what the fuck is going on? Well, that's one intention and they smell that and see that. If my intention is I read something on Deadline, it truly sounds great for me. I ask for the script or I listen to the audiobooks. Almost everything now is like a podcast or a book. I'll listen to the podcast. I'll listen to the book. And then if I hear some things where I'm like, if they turn that into a role, that could be mine. Or this world, for me, it's like, 1980s Mormons in Utah. Audrey, check. Audrey Moore coming at you, right? And then if I know the casting director as well, then absolutely it is only helpful information. And I always also sign off with it too. I say, hey, was on Deadline, saw that they were doing Under the Banner of Heaven. I am friends with the casting director. I listened to the book that it's based on. There are a lot of great worlds for me. I do have a relationship with casting. I just wanted to let you know in case that's helpful to you. Love you. No, you're so great at your job, blah, blah, blah. Because I think there's something about like, in case that's helpful to you, because they can't all know every single project. So what I don't do is email them and say, hey, what's going on? Been reading Deadline, see that there's a lot of interesting projects out there. What's happening? Don't send that email. That's a dick email. But there was a showrunner that I've worked with, and I got a notification that one of his shows has been greenlit again. And again, tons of women in the show. It's like 12 women in the show. And so I asked for the script. They gave it to me. And in 24 hours, I read the script and I listened to the book. And they had said to me, like, most of the roles were a little bit younger than I am. And I was like, okay, great. Well, I'm just going to read the script anyway, and I'll listen to the book and let me see. And so I found 2 roles that I thought were really good for me. And I asked them about it, and they said, okay, this one is going this way, which is not how it was written in the book. And I was like, okay. And they said, in that one, we've already called about you. That's being cast in Canada. And I didn't even know it was shooting in Canada. And they were like, so sorry, we probably should have told you. We pitched that, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not doing that every week.
Right.
I'm not like, hey, fuck off, what's happened? I'm like, I did my job. I asked for the script. I read the script. I listened to the entire book. I had my notifications on for the showrunner that I have a relationship with. And I think if that was me and I was the agent, I think what it would say to me is like, yeah, get it, Audrey. Like, get it. But you see what I'm saying? Like, I think it's good to like ask somebody if you're
check
insecure.
in with your friends and ask.
Yeah, or check in with your manager and say like, hey, I want to send this. Is this annoying? And also sometimes people's managers will be like, I'll do it. Let me do it. I do recommend against that on occasion because then you're not building a relationship with your agent. It's really your manager's building a relationship with your agent. Mm-hmm. And shit happens all the time. Managers quit. Agents quit. People have health problems. All kinds of things happen. And if you're not building all of those relationships, then it's so common that the one that you have that's really strong bounces out.
Yeah.
And then the people that are left don't know you or care about you. And I've had that happen to friends and their careers have really suffered for it. So I really recommend that, staying fervent to all of them without crossing the line into annoyance. What do you think about all that?
I agree completely. And I think maintaining those relationships, I love the idea. I'm so obsessed with checking in with friends, checking with my manager, getting more comfortable with just asking questions and not freaking out about looking stupid, because I'd rather look stupid at one level than another. So if I'm going to send an email to my agent or to casting or reach out to someone that I haven't before, I'm absolutely going to check in with my manager or shoot him a text and be like, hey, how does this email sound? Is this appropriate? Should I CC? I just had a conversation with him about like CC versus BCC and like what's appropriate for certain conversations, because the administrative side is another huge blind spot for so many actors. And I'm just now getting over that terror and fear and and just asking the questions.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, diversifying your relationships and continuing to reach out to the whole team and everyone involved at every level in the appropriate ways. That's growth.
Yeah. I mean, I used to think that the career as it got bigger would get like smaller and more focused. And what I realize is it's actually the opposite. The further my career gets, the more people I have on my team. And the more valuable all of those people become, especially because at a certain point, it's almost all relationships. It just is. And you just don't know if it's going to be your stylist or your publicist or your manager or your agent's assistant who are going to be the person who has the relationship with that writer, showrunner, creator, casting director, lead actor, and get you the audition, get you seen. And that little thing makes all the difference in getting you booked. I think at the end of the day, you have to just really be aware that every year you get older, relationships become more valuable than the actual audition in and of itself.
Yeah.
But wait, Michelle, you delicious, scrumptious goddess, you. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Castability. Download the app to get free original sides every day for the month of May. They even promise they're going to do some Lord of the Rings style sides. You guys, LOTR from Castability. Do me a favor and do Self-Tape May, but also do Self-Tape May LOTR so I can find you if you're doing Lord of the Rings tapes. And then, while you're on the Castability app, you can upload your tapes for the next level experience of getting feedback from real casting professionals. They've got feedback in believability, specificity, creativity, personality. And finally, Castability will do Who Won the Role. And for just $25, you can submit a tape every single weekday to their casting directors. Visit Castability.Actor/self-tape May 23 for free sides every day in May and for your special Self-Tape May $25 offer. Promo code Audrey10. This listener question is also brought to you by Self-Tapes Here. Jeff Pride is awesome. He is a session runner. He's an incredible working actor. I use his service myself. He offers coaching. He offers just like a little help. You can do it in person, which you know we love. Also, virtual. If you don't want to drive anywhere, virtual is available to you. Message Jeff on Instagram at Self-Tapes Here. Listen, everyone. Pick it. Go pick it. Are you following Deadline? They're posting everyone talking at the picket lines. It is so inspiring. Deadline on Instagram. They've got their little picket stories. It's so great. I want to hear your picketing story. I want to hear if you were nervous, but you showed up anyway. Shout out to Bonnie, Kathleen, and Trevor, who apparently met at the Warner Brothers lot at the 2007 strike. He was this just, cool WGA writer picketing. And Bonnie was fresh out of school, just cute as a little button. And he saw her and he was like, that little piece of pie, she looks scrummy. I'm going to swoop her up. And indeed he did. And they were picketing in the lines together again on Monday. And I'm just so moved. So go meet your spouse. Go meet your future partner. Go meet your future life partner. Go meet a best friend. Go meet the person who's going to cast you in your next show. Honestly, go do that. That sounds like a great idea. All right, call us with your strike stories or questions at 667-ACTOR-70. That's 667-ACTOR-70.
Hi, Audrey. It's Dory, based in Los Angeles. Let's say we have an audition and we have more than one scene to do, and it's listed as scene 1 and scene 2, but we feel like our scene 2 is much stronger than our scene 1 and we like it better. Is it okay when we submit to switch around the order and put scene 2 before scene 1 so they see it quicker? Or is that kind of a big no-no? I know it's kind of specific, but that question has come up twice in the last couple of weeks. So wanted to ask that. And number 2, what are some good questions to ask a commercial casting director? I am in a commercial class right now that I'm loving, and we have a casting director coming in a few weeks, and I would love to have some really thoughtful and provoking questions for him, but I would like to make it specific for commercial casting directors. So let me know if you have any thoughts on that. And as always, you're the best, and I hope to see you soon.
I love you, Jory. You're the best. Ladies and gentlemen, Jory is freaking awesome, and Jory is out to kick ass and take names. I'm just letting you guys know. So, okay, I love putting my best scene first. I book all the time by doing it. I tell other people to do it. They book all the time by doing it. Best scene first. Best scene first. This is not a play. They're going to film it out of order. They're going to edit it out of order. They're going to do all the things out of order. When you're submitting your commercial audition, usually you're doing it through Casting Networks or Casting Frontier, and they have their individual instructions. Some people are like, please put everything in one, meaning your slate, your scene 1, your scene 2, please put it all in one link. Definitely in that case, unless they specifically say otherwise, unless they're like, listen, slate first, scene 1 next, scene 2 next, unless they specify that, definitely put your strongest scene and your strongest take first. That can mean putting your slate at the end. That can mean putting your adorable face and adorable scene at the very top. Theatrically, commercially, whatever the game is, I want you to know I am always putting my best scene first, because they will click through it anyway. If they're like, oh, Audrey, I can't believe you put your second scene first. Hey, they don't care. They're not spending that time thinking about it. And if they are, that's like a good sign. That means they're like, what is Audrey going to do if we've been waiting so long for this tape? Oh, There it is. Oh, she put the second scene first. Oh, well, I'll click to the other scene because that's easy to do. So yes, best scene first. I love best scene first. It's my favorite thing. And anyone who's telling you otherwise, I think they're wrong. I'm going to say it. They are wrong. All right, I'm going to answer the next part of your question in our next listener question.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Let's talk about the morning show.
Okay.
So you booked the morning show. This is circa pre-pandemic. Star-studded cast. You are recurring on there. You are like part of the newsroom ensemble. And you're in many episodes in the first season, right? Aren't you like in 4 or 6 episodes, something like that?
6. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I thought you were like in a lot. And then the second season, 6 or 7 episodes, season 2, 6, season 1. And then this amazing thing happened, rightfully, BTW, where your show, the morning show, was nominated for a SAG Ensemble Award, Best Ensemble. And your bougie bitchin' self got to take yourself from your fucking apartment in
I'm a Koreatown
so
girl.
your bougie self got to get dressed up and ready in your apartment in Koreatown. And then you hit the carpet and you stun the public. So tell everyone all about it.
So I went with my manager as my plus one. We had our first red carpet awards show experience,
Whoop, whoop.
and it went really well.
Great.
I got on a lot of best dress lists.
Where did you get on Best Dress list?
Cosmopolitan and Vogue
Yes.
and BuzzFeed, I think.
Yes, I think BuzzFeed. Yeah. And just so everyone knows, I mean, I saw your pictures and I was like, fuck yes. First of all, her rack looked like it was blessed from the heavens. This is amazing. And you are as beautiful as I have ever seen you. You just looked gorgeous. Makeup on point, hair on point, the beautiful pink on point. Like it was just all, I was all about it. So you did this, and then you were like, amazing. So then what happened is you were like, I'm a baller. We just got nominated as an ensemble. I just got on all these best dress lists. And then coming out of that, you hadn't started filming season 3 yet. And you get a call from wardrobe and you're like, hey, everybody, we're doing wardrobe. I remember I saw you in the summer. And you were like, whew, thank God. No, that's coming up. Wardrobe called, blah, blah, blah. And so you had some you were feeling excited about season 3, right? Tell everyone about your excitement.
Yeah. They checked my veil. I was in a group text with my co-stars and we were all jazzed to get back to work, constantly in contact, taking calls like, hey, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? Got the rough estimate that it was August. So I was just having a great summer. Knowing I had a job coming up, and definitely thinking not only thinking, oh, I have a job coming up, but thinking like maybe this time they'll give me a little story. Maybe I really. I mean, I turned up and turned out and showed up for that show at the SAG Awards, so this is gonna be a good year.
Yes, yeah, right.
And then they didn't ask me back.
And what month did you find out that they weren't asking you back?
It was August.
Oh my God.
So I spent the summer very confident, thinking, I had a job on lock, health insurance on lock, baby. And then I started getting texts from my co-stars saying, hey, they just scheduled my fitting. Like, what's the word? Have you heard anything? And I was like, I haven't. Let me give a little ring to my reps. And after some phone tag, it was like, yeah, it's not going to happen. Sorry, friend.
And now let me ask you this question. Do you have any inside scoop about what happened?
I don't. And that's the biggest sort of lesson, I think. And I truly, I think the big takeaway is it's not personal. I think that it is a show with a lot of big stars and a lot of big guest stars and cameos and moving parts and schedules to deal with. And people just kind of fall through the cracks. There was a big transition, a new showrunner, a lot of new staff writers. it happens. It was devastating at the time, but it wasn't my first like big industry disappointment. So I was a little bit more, I had my thick skin and my armor was a little stronger this time around. And honestly, not to date this, we can take this out, but
okay, great.
I was just reading an article about Henry Cavill losing Superman. And I was like, that's exactly like, it doesn't matter. You can be literally Superman and still think you have a job one day and then not have the job the next. And it can happen to Batgirl, and it can happen to Spider-Man, and it can happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, you can quit The Witcher to go back to Batman, and you can have HBO write you an open letter that says, "Hey, Henry, we would love to offer you any role you would want on House of the Dragon." Any role you want. And then you roll up to your Superman life, and then they're like, hey, we're actually going to do like a young storyline of Superman, so we're not going to use you anymore. Sorry you just quit The Witcher, but we like you very much. Yeah, I mean, I think about Batgirl because that was Michael Keaton's return as Batman. And everyone was like, oh my God, Michael is coming back. I don't understand. Like, I just literally don't understand what was going on. And now you have all these shows. I mean, I just want everyone to be in the moment, because you have no choice. It's bad. It's like all these shows that are getting pulled off of HBO Max because they want to stop paying residuals. And so you have all these actors who are like getting their residuals every year and thought, okay, and then it'll be 40% this year and 35% next year and 30% that year. And, you know, they're sort of like thinking, oh, great, I get this chunk of money every year that I can count on. And it's for a lot of people, it's a big chunk and really helps support them. Again, because the actual bookings of the jobs can be so random and can be few and far between. And that residual income really is for many actors, once you've gotten a resume under your belt, it really is the cushion that allows you to keep the pursuit going, truly. And is why every other country comes here to work. So all those actors are now without however many thousands of dollars they thought they were going to get this year, that they've gotten the last 5 years of their lives, and now they're not getting them. And that's just par for the course.
Devastating.
Devastating.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it was funny because I think I got some extra notification like literally this morning, and I was kind of revisiting the story, and I just thought, how perfect. Like, it's terrible, but it's so funny because it's so absurd. This industry is so absurd.
So absurd.
And I, at this point in my career, I really take comfort in just knowing and accepting that. And like you said, jumping out the window. Like, just
right, exactly.
Be Tommen, jump out the window emotionally when you need to. Let it go. Let it die.
Yes.
And carry on.
Yeah.
Henry's going to be fine.
Henry's good. But also maybe he won't. I don't know. Maybe this is really going to, I mean, I remember Anne Hathaway said she didn't book Phantom of the Opera. It was like between her and somebody else. And she didn't get out of bed, she said, for like 9 months. She was so devastated. Do you have any methodologies to handle the emotions, the expectations, the finances in regards to the space between the jobs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a really big proponent of feeling your feelings. So I hope you don't need 9 months, but if you need 9 months to be in bed and feel sad about it, like give yourself some compassion, give yourself the space to just be sad. I try to put a time limit based on the level of disappointment. Sometimes it's 24 hours, sometimes it's a week or two. But once I come out of that, like, you just have to stand in your power and remind yourself who you are. kind of. That has been really helpful for me. I mean, especially like we just discussed, I mean, losing morning show was really scary because I had very confidently spent many months thinking I have a job to go back to. And I had never had that security. I mean, it's the best feeling. That's the show that got me health insurance in the first place. And getting to come back for a second season was such a gift. And I got a little too comfortable and thought for sure, season 3. And that having that stability is like one of the biggest goals
Blessings.
that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you don't even know how much you'll appreciate it until you have it. And then of course having it taken away is so hard. But this is kind of what we signed up for, and reminding myself that I'm not alone. You have a team, you have friends, reaching out to the relationships that you have, reminding yourself of the relationships you have, looking at your resume, seeing your body of work, whatever that might be. And I don't just mean your reels, but your self-tapes too, and emails. I have a folder that I keep on my desktop called Gas, and it's just screenshots of messages that I get, or like a text from my mom, or an email from a casting office that's like, hey, she wasn't right, but she was so great. Like any little crumb of encouragement so that I can revisit it in those low moments and really step back and see the big picture. That has really kept me going. Financially is still a personal challenge for me. I still really struggle. I've been incredibly lucky that residuals have been good enough between, morning show and my guest stars here and there have kind of carried me through, but letting go of the pride and the shame also helps. I still walk other people's dogs for some change. I still pull footage for other people for some extra money here and there. House sitting, when the opportunity comes up, I try not to say no, and I try not to get too caught up in like, I'm too much of a big deal.
Yeah, right. I was on Vogue Best Dress list.
How dare you?
How dare you?
And I just think, what a lucky dog to be walked by someone so fabulous. And also in the low times, I've found an incredible amount of inspiration, and it's a great creative outlet, especially through quarantine. I've been doing a ton of table reads. I got really involved in writers groups. My roommate is a writer. I just started popping up on Zooms weekly, if not bi-weekly, or more than once a week, I should say, to cold read scripts. And it's flexed that muscle for me. It's like actor gym for me. And it also has introduced me to a lot of up and coming writers who have produced projects, and I've gotten auditions and I've gotten jobs from that, so
that's awesome.
To me, that's the best way to fill the time in between is creative fulfillment and diversifying your relationships.
And messages from mom.
It'll keep you going.
You participated in Self-Tape May. You were fantastic. And to people who are thinking about doing it, do you want to share a little bit about your experience or how to do it, or thoughts or ideas about what worked for you or why you did it?
I think it was another one of those slow times in between where I didn't have a lot to do. I was feeling a little aimless. I listened to these podcasts obsessively. So I was just sort of inspired by one Audrey Moore to challenge myself and just see if I could do it. And I'm really grateful. The biggest benefit was it forced me to get a setup. I am very lucky that I know not everyone has the space to just leave something up, but I have a roommate who understands, and I have taken over a corner of our apartment, and I have a curtain set up, ready to go. I have my lights waiting there. I have my camera and my battery charging, and it is always there, ready to just pull out. And yeah, that's been kind of the biggest technical benefit is I'm set. And from a creative standpoint, it was just, again, it felt like an actor gym, just having something I was required and committed to doing every day, almost every day, working on a scene, judging myself. I made kind of as a thank you to my roommate, who was my reader every time. I made this sort of blooper reel at the end of my Self-Tape May practice. And it was incredibly informative to see when I was recording practices, and she would walk in the background and be like, when are we doing this? And I would say, I don't know, I'm sucking right now. And the judgment and the process and how I treated myself. It allowed for a lot of self-reflection in how I approached the auditions that I didn't have before. And thank God I did just before the shutdown and self-tapes really popped off, because I really think that it was just before. And I truly didn't get a lot of self-tape auditions at the time. I was mostly going in rooms. So it was such a serendipitous gift that I had that preparation.
With this negative self-talk that you were noticing, what have you done? Do you just catch yourself earlier now? Do you start to feel that way and then just go, hey, or do you just go through it and have an objective understanding that that is what it is and it's fine?
A little bit more of the latter. I think I just have an easier time of pinpointing and going, oh, it's a little bit of a protecting myself. It's my brain and my emotions protecting myself, the fear of failure, the fear of fucking up. So I just go, oh, well, you suck and it's not good anyway. So you should just whatever and wait till the last minute and blah, blah, blah. Like I recognize these tendencies in myself more. And now when I approach self-tapes, I just kind of know that that's a part of the process, the stage. I'm sure someone could write a great article about like the 7 stages of grief, except it's for self-taping. You know what I mean?
It's true.
And there's always a stage where I'm in denial and I don't want to do it and I'm scared and whatever. But we just move on because I always get it done. And I mostly just rely on the one thing I can always fall back on is trusting my talent and my taste.
Good.
Because no matter what, I can always watch the tape back and go, did I do what I wanted to do? Is that good enough for me? Do I feel confident sending this tape out? And that's, at the end of the day, kind of all that matters to me, getting it done in a quick turnaround.
I like to watch it back a little while later and just ask myself, like, okay, now with some perspective, did I hit the target, both in my performance and in the tone and the arc and the, all of that, right? And if I didn't, what can I identify is the reason why I didn't? So was it like a bad attitude? Was it that I didn't have a coach who knew about that genre and could help specifically like move me over there? Was it that it was just a really great stab at me in the role, but me in the role isn't going to be as fill in the blank as the other person in the role? And that's really helped me to refine. Because if it is a bad attitude, then why is it a bad attitude? Oh, is it because I burned myself out doing too many things 48 hours beforehand when I didn't have auditions, that then I was too tapped out to be excited to put in the work for the actual audition? And then what's the balance of that between like having no life so that I'm not burned out when the auditions come versus having a suitable life, exciting life maybe even. And sometimes, because I can't predict when auditions will come in, sometimes auditions may slightly suffer, sometimes, like God forbid. And if that's not most of the time, or even if that's my estimate of auditions maybe slightly suffering, that's probably Audrey's estimate of slightly suffering, which is a different bar, an impossible bar I put on myself, versus what might be the reality.
So, okay, a quick question about that then. So when you say you revisit the tapes, you take some time and you rewatch it. That's after you've submitted it, yes? So that's just a personal practice for you?
Yeah, I mean, I rewatch it. Like I had a tape for a really great guest star this week, and I thought it was a really good role for me. And I worked it all day, and then I had somebody come over and work with me for 2 hours that night. It was hard. It was harder than I thought it was going to be always, right? And I'm looking for the ones where I'm like, this is going to be really hard. And then it's like, God, that was so easy. Rare, but love it. And then I finished it, and I rewatched it, and I thought, oh my God, I've just done a fantastic audition, but this audition is really it was for like a 1-hour network drama procedural. And I clearly felt like I did it for Mighty Ducks season 2.
There's no way.
And I was
no way.
Listen, I go Mighty Ducks so fast. I go like lightning rod Mighty Ducks. I have to pull all of my like, I just love things. Like
you
I have to
say
pull
that,
it.
but your booking says otherwise.
So, I mean, you're not wrong, but I don't know what to tell you. It went Mighty Ducks. So then I was literally in my bed for 2 hours. I couldn't sleep. I was being so mean to myself. I was like, Audrey, why did you do Mighty Ducks? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why did you do that? And then I was just obsessing about my Mighty Duck face and my Mighty Duck voice. And then I literally went in my head to my resume in my head. And I was like, okay, let's go back and recount the jobs I booked where I was like, fuck yeah, I crushed that. This is my role. And which ones that I booked that I was like, I don't know. And it's like a solid smattering of both, right? A solid smattering of ones where I was like so embarrassed afterwards versus the ones where I was like, oh, this is my role and I fucking nailed that, right? So that made me feel a little bit better. And then I was still in terror and still like in the mental loop of what an embarrassment I am to myself. And like, I need to find a better I need to find a teacher. I need to like work on my acting more. Like I need to have like more conflict and like, what am I going to do to get more conflict in my work to be slightly less Mighty Ducks and slightly more 1 hour drama. Then I took a gummy because I wasn't falling asleep. So I took a CBD gummy and decided to rewatch my tape that I was about to send in. And I rewatched it and I was like, oh, this is great.
Oh my God.
And I was like, this is great. I don't know that, and you don't know. Like, I don't know that it's like the exact tone, but I don't fucking know. Like, who knows? It's also a network show where it was one network that's done the last several seasons and a new network was doing the new season. And I want to be clear, I never got called in from the show for the old network. So the fact that I'm getting called in for new network to me was a little, but that also means like I'm lost. I don't know what they're doing now. It's a new network, new everything, right? New showrunner, new whole deal. But again, I was like, you know what, Audrey, you worked on this all day. You had somebody come in and work it with you for a couple hours. You ran your takes by your incredible patient husband. You panicked for a few hours. Then you saw it and I feel great. Now that's that. Usually I don't watch it again right after like I had this week. Usually I just leave it because I know I get nitpicky about all the moments. So then it's just a personal preference. If I didn't book it, it's a personal preference to go back and watch who did book it. And if they are somebody that I know or somebody that I feel like, well, that bitch looks like my identical twin sister. What did she do? Then I will definitely go back and watch it to see what maybe I missed. Also, if somebody booked it that's like got a really big, like I lost a job and Kathy Najimy booked it and I was like, get it, Kathy. And
I love that when that happens.
What am I going to do?
Oh, okay, well, that's fine.
Okay, get it, Kathy. But it was also really great to see her work because there was a moment she caught that I didn't catch. And I was like, interesting, really cool, So I do that partly to see like what was I actually up for so I can calm myself down about my statistics. Also to learn about opportunities that maybe I have a habit of missing. And checking to see what, if anything, needs to be recalculated in the magical sphere between I have no idea what's going on and, oh, I could probably improve that.
I want to apologize to you on the podcast because you had done a podcast interview a couple months ago and you had talked about a lot of the details of your process. And your process is very involved. And like a lot of people, I think I listen to the podcast as if you're just talking to me. And I sent you a text being like, girl, what? Like,
so let's preempt this for everybody.
Yes.
So I was on One Broke Actress, shout out to Sam Valentine. And she had put this little snippet of my interview with her. And I didn't love the snippet because I'm very aware of like hustle culture and hustle culture addiction. So the snippet was me talking about my process. And I said, yeah, I mean, it gets expensive auditioning and that I coach and that I take about a half hour per page, and that what I usually do is work it, tape it, watch it, work it, tape it, watch it, work it, tape it, watch it. I'll try on different outfits, see what's working, getting the camera work together. And that's all before my coach even meets with me. And even then I'm spending a half hour per page usually. And that gets very time consuming, expensive if you start getting lots of auditions in a week. And then I got so many text messages, DMs, emails from people. Even I went and had lunch with people that week and the next week, and they were
God.
"Oh my God, Audrey, what is going on?" And so you sent me a message, and you were like, "Fuck, should I be doing all that?" And I'm glad we're talking about it, because I do think it's valuable for us to share publicly what I said to you, which is that what I'm such a big proponent of is everybody discovering their way of working. And not just discovering, but truly forever developing their way of working. And that I fucking wish I didn't have to do that, girl. I fucking wish I didn't. But it is because my best work for me comes from impulses in the moment, not from me thinking things through and having concepts, but that is 1000% my process. And so you emailed me, were like, "Fuck, should I be doing that?" And I said, "Oh my God, listen, everyone is texting me about this." And I said, "You're working a lot. Right. So please do not adopt my process and turn it into your process, because your process, A, is working, in the fact that it's actually booking you work, and B, you're fantastic. And you know how to get great work that you're excited about out of yourself. So no, do not spend a half hour per page with a coach after you record it, watch it, record it, watch it. If you have never done that, and that's interesting to you, give it a fucking go. But don't decide that you're a bad actor or an irresponsible or lazy actor because you're not doing the same process that I'm doing.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up, to officially apologize to you and acknowledge how crazy that time period must have been. And also for everyone listening, it was nice to hear you say that to me, because I think I just sort of got just spiraled into this insecurity of comparison, which we all do so easily. And for people to hear, you and I have pretty similar resumes at this point, I would say. And we have, I can't stress enough, our processes are completely different, and they both work for us. I haven't coached in years. I am a master procrastinator. I will wait till the last minute. Everything feels very instinctual to me. I love a cold read, all chaos. I am, compared to you, absolute chaos. Two completely different artists and approaches, but side by side, still having the same or similar measures of success, right? So I hope that people take comfort in knowing that, and to not compare yourself to your other actor friends. Things work differently for different actors, and that's okay. And I had to tell that to myself, and after texting you, and I hope everyone listening can tell that to themselves too. Coaching is amazing. Doing the amount of work that you do is amazing. And if that doesn't work for somebody, that's okay.
All of it is bullshit, and I'm really aware of the super sell behind everything. And I'm really wary of my process being normalized, because I think it is really great advertising for hustle culture, which means buying other people's ability to help solve your problem. And I love help. I believe in help. I use help all the time. But I do have plenty of actor friends that don't, and work, and also believe they work more because of it. And also, I have been working with the coaches that I've been working with for like 8 years. Like, this is not like I found somebody and was like, hey, you want to read this over with me? It's like, I have shorthand with people. I know why I work with people that I work with and what I get out of it. And I'm so protective of actors spending time and money on things that they do not need to be spending time and money on. If you're not getting auditions, or you are and you're not getting good results, there's a lot of reasons why that could be. I had an actress friend reach out to me, and she said that her audition statistics from 2022 had fallen quite a bit since 2019. And I think it was these headshots that she had. And I said, well, there's a lot of reasons it could be. And before you like go and spend another $2,000 on fucking headshots, I would go back and look at the auditions you used to have and see, like, what are those people casting? Are they casting things you're still in now? Are they still in casting? Like what, in the case of you, Michelle, like, have you been on that show already? And have you been in that universe? So now you can't audition for it anymore. Can you find reasons why maybe you're not auditioning for those people the way that you were? And sure enough, this friend looked at what happened, and a lot of those casting offices had quit the industry since the pandemic and or moved on to projects that were completely different and my friend was no longer right for. So then it became about, I need to make new relationship. So it's all these weird little intricacies, but then we just like go to like, change headshots, new headshots, please. Right? As opposed to like, well, let's really actually look into causation versus correlation. Got new headshots, got less auditions. Is that causation or is that correlation? And before you spend a bunch more fucking money, let's just do even 20 minutes investigating. I like die for the fact that you procrastinate, then you like chaos around, you send it in and you book it. That just makes my heart beat so hard for you. I just love it. It's a dream. But wait, Michelle, you delicious, scrumptious goddess, you. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Abundance Bound. Managing money is challenging for actors. Okay, listen to me. We are striking because we need to get paid more money. You also need money to invest wisely in this career. You also need to learn how to manage your money before you start making all of your actor money. I'm telling you, it's for everyone. There is a space between I just got out of school and I'm in $80,000 worth of debt, not from school loans, because those are a little extra added bonus. I am passionate about reaching you. Take this time, get your shit together, which especially includes your finances. If you are a person who is like passionate about your health, but then you're in like tons of debt or on your way to it, that's not healthy. I'm just going to be super real with you. So go to abundancebound.com/financial-empowerment. I have the link on the show notes. It's right there. Get your money together. This is the perfect time. This is the thing that I would be doing. If I was a listener to this podcast, this is the thing I would be doing. FYI. Also self-tape May, also picketing. All right, call us with your strike stories or questions at 667-ACTOR-70. That's 667-ACTOR-70.
What are some good questions to ask a commercial casting director? I am in a commercial class right now that I'm loving, and we have a casting director coming in a few weeks, and I would love to have some really thoughtful and provoking questions for him, but I would like to make it specific for commercial casting directors. So let me know if you have any thoughts on that.
Hey, Jory, part 2 of this question. If you are doing a class of any kind, and at the end of the class, they are putting a casting director or industry professional, and they're going to do like a question answer, I think you should definitely have some good questions, but make sure they're actual questions, not like, what's your favorite food, but like actual industry questions. It's not like the best time to try to get noticed, but it's an actually great time to ask a question that you've been dying for. So for commercials in specific, I think one of the very best things that you can ask a casting professional is, one, what are the archetypes that you are seeing casting a lot right now? So commercials have a lot of archetypes. There are a lot of brands, and within those brands, there are archetypes. So many people will span a couple of different archetypes. You might have somebody who's doing like businessman and also surfer hippie. If you are Phil Cass, you can do both. And congratulations to you, Phil. That to me is a really great question because it's going to let you know sort of what you could or should maybe focus on in terms of both your practice and also watching some of those archetypes and also getting headshots and things like that in those archetypes if they're right for you. If you don't know what an archetype is, then you should go take a commercial class. Another really great question that you can ask is, what kind of brands/archetypes do you think I, Jory, am really great for? So I would be like, hey, I have a question. I know this is like me-centered, but why not? You're here. I'm just wondering, just by what you saw, if you have any ideas on a brand or two and maybe like an archetype or two that you think that would be really great for me to focus on in my practice and in my headshots. You don't want to ask like too many, because if you're like, I want to know all the brands and all the archetypes, that's like too much. You could even say, I'd like to know a brand or maybe like an archetype that you think I would be really great for. That to me is the best thing you can know when coming out of a commercial class, outside of just how to get comfortable and technically how to do commercials. Go book it, girl.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Let's wrap up. Okay. Social media, where can people find you?
Self tapes. And I occasionally post, actor specific things or my own self tapes that I ended up booking.
Great.
So it's still being updated, just not as often. And I'm on TikTok at Freckle Dots. I like to that's a little loosey goosey over there, but it exists. So.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
What are you most proud of overcoming in your career?
I'm most proud of overcoming my desire to save my family through a successful career. Turns out it was too much pressure for a co-star. And once I had enough therapy and learned that my loved ones were responsible for themselves and I could have a career, and the success or failure of that career would only mean my success or failure as a creative, that was so much less pressure than if I don't become a successful actor, how will I save everybody? And once it was like, well, I'm not responsible for saving them and I'm going to be an actor because I want to be an actor, I was like, whoa, that was so much better. And then that's when I really started booking.
I was just going to say, did it just open up that weight off?
1,000%. What I'd like to talk about now in terms of execution is that like mastery in acting seems to me to be when the depth is equally as deep as the ease is easy. And I couldn't have ease because I was so freaked out. And I could have depth, but my depth was so wrought in panic and struggle because it was about saving people rather than like what it should be about, which is the craft and the experience of the storytelling, how I help craft this story. So there.
Love that.
Yay. Okay, what is the best part about the business for you?
Oh, the possibility. It's still knowing you could get a call or an email at any moment that could just change everything. I mean, it's really exciting. And I love hearing stories of friends. Like, I have a friend who just out of nowhere got a call to come back to a show that he had shot a year, 2 years ago. Getting the call from Blackish 8 years later, you know, that kind of stuff. Those relationships that you don't even realize are still, you know, that's the best.
That is the best. It is. What is the hardest part about the career for you?
It's hard to pick a number one. It's maybe the lack of control or the loneliness that you feel when you're kind of, it's hard not to feel like you're just in a dark room pouring your heart out and sending it into a black void that may or may not be received.
Someone might watch it. Click on it. Not even watch it. Just click it open. Just open. Nah, she's wrong for it. Stop. Ugh, so good. But still our hearts. Yeah, it's good. It's devastating. What do you wish someone had managed to teach you or get you to understand when you were just a wee babe entering the industry for the very first time?
I think it's a tie between really, truly understanding that it's a marathon. If you want to do it statistically, it's going to take
some time.
10 years, 15 years, 20 years sometimes to really like lock in or air quotes make it, which everyone's definition of making it is so different. But the marathon, not a sprint, and it's not that serious.
Oh, really? I mean, right? Yeah.
That's my new sort of epiphany as when I think back to all of the devastations and the letdowns and the heartbreaks, it's like, or the fears that, oh, I pissed that person off at that party, or I sent the wrong email and now I'm black. This idea of being like these intense fears about every little interaction, letting go of that and recognizing it doesn't. I don't want to. It sounds negative, and I don't want to say.
I don't feel like it does.
I hope it's empowering.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Right.
And it's going to be okay.
Yeah, like the industry could lose any of us, and it's fine. It's fine. Like, is not being able to fall asleep for 2 hours because I'm so upset with myself that I turned a 1-hour drama into the Mighty Ducks. I don't think it's that serious. I don't think that's a reason to stay up for an extra 2 hours going over and over something in my head for too long, right? We're fine. Everyone's going to be fine. There are reasons to not be able to fall asleep, and that is not one of them.
It's not one of them.
But, you know,
there will be another audition.
There will be
another email. There will be another.
Maybe it'll be the Mighty Ducks, and I will be so
That's
glad
right.
I already nailed the tone.
Spoken it into existence.
I am ready. What does success look like for you?
For me, success is being able to call myself a working actor and to support myself with just acting, which I can't remember the statistic, but it's a very small number of people who can do that. However, surviving right now off of acting in a couple of odd jobs here and there is pretty damn good. So I feel pretty successful right now.
You are,
which is special.
You are. I think you're a star.
Thank you.
Okay, mildly interesting. Do you have something, or do you want me to go first?
You go first, because I forgot about this.
Okay, great. I'm gonna go first, everybody. Okay, at Whole Foods, I'm drinking it because it's so good. I don't really like smoothies because they taste like vitamins. That's my problem. I don't want to drink like mashed up vitamins. But this is California local. It's called Urban Remedy, and it's the green berry meal shake. Now, I want you guys to know, I like McDonald's and cake. We go to Carl's Jr. too much in my house. We have a lot of Oreos in here. And so my ability to withstand these kinds of drinks, it's not super high, but these are really great. And they do chill out my hangry for quite a while. So it's strawberry, blueberry, chia gel, pineapple, spinach, kale, goji berry powder, acai powder, and monk fruit extract. And I have to say, it's just delicious. Just delicious. And my friends text me and are like, are you eating? Are you running around? Or are you eating anything? And I'm like, I've got my Urban Remedy shake from Whole Foods. They're not cheap. I just want you to know. However, I also recommend this shit. If you want to get your reps like a little thank you, send an entire thing of something like this to the agency. And
that's a really good idea.
Because nobody wants to spend $10 on them, but everybody wants one.
Everybody loves an expensive
right?
juice.
It's true. Everybody does. Okay, your turn.
Okay. I love a game called Marvel Snap, and it is a card game. It's an app on your phone, but it is a card game, and you create your own decks of superhero cards, and you fight other people, and it is so addicting and so weirdly satisfying. The animations are beautiful. Highly recommend if you like games, you like to kill time on your phone, you like to wind down, you're sick of Candy Crush and you want to try something different. Marvel Snap.
Here's what I love is like Tommen from Game of Thrones is like, oh, you mean Tommen, the one who jumped out the window, Joffrey's younger brother? He was in like 4 episodes. They even recast his character because they decided they were going to give him a storyline. Yes, that's also the person who plays Marvel Snaps and is truly thrilled about it. One of my favorite things is getting to know people more because it's like opening more presents. It's like you think you're going to get this present and then they tell you more about yourself and you're like, oh my God, is there a present inside the present? That's one of my most favorite things.
She is a nerd? Wait.
She is a nerd. That's getting real. Like that's some yeah, like you could hang out with a lot of staff writers with that little piece of info.
I hope we at least get one DM of someone being like, yo, Marvel Snap, she's right.
We're gonna get those DMs. Listen, we're going to. That's happening. That is legit for sure happening.
That would make me so happy.
Okay, listen, I love you so much. I'm so glad we got to do this. I'm probably not going to see you before the holidays, so have like the happiest, merriest Christmas.
Me too.
Let's hang out more, and if nothing else, I'll just have you back on so we can pretend we're doing work and hanging out at the same time. It's going to be great.
I would love that.
It's my favorite way to work.
Give me
too
a
much.
year to have something to talk about.
Oh gosh, I'll get you to talk about shit. I love it. It's like my
I mean,
favorite thing. Okay,
we can talk
stop.
about Marvel Snap if you want.
Marvel Snap, a new podcast from the creators of Audrey Helps Actors. Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we've got Chris Sidbury. Chris! I love you, girl. It's going to be a great episode. Chris is truly incredible. Thanks so much, Michelle. I love you. I adore you. I give you virtual hugs. I think you're amazing. I can't wait for you to be making stupid amounts of money. Like stupid amounts of money. I just want you to know, like, your poor days are limited. I'm not saying that she's poor, but if she is, those days are very limited. Her even middle class, working class days are limited. She is about to get wealthy money wealthy, all of the things. I love you. This episode was mixed and mastered by Thomas Snodgrass, produced by Jesse Lumen, my husband, still so handsome. He gets older and gets better looking. Fuck that guy. This episode was edited by Michael Morello and Taylor Martorana. Show music by Ari De Niro, theme song by Aalok Mehta and 108 Hill, and shout out to Matthew Patrick Davis as the mother of the review baby. All right, everyone, don't forget your towel, including Johnny Byrne, who brought his towel to the LA meetup.